Superstar.
How's it going, folks? Welcome to another fun at-home table read. Tonight, we are jumping into a bit of an unknown movie. We're checking out an unmade script for a film called Video Nasty. It's an upcoming horror comedy, potentially. I don't know, but I'm really excited to see what this one's going to be because the basic setup for it seems fun. So we're going to introduce ourselves. My name's Logan. I'm going to be on action description for tonight.
I'm Angi and I'm Lena.
I'm George and I'll be Shawn.
I'm Anne and I'll be Izzy.
I'm Nicole and I'll be Barbara.
I'm Six. I'll be Brad. I'm Erik. I'll be Brad.
I'm Jen and I'm Allison.
I'm Chelsea and I'm Joanne.
I'm Steven and I'm Officer Tommy.
And I'm Travis and I'm Officer Jarvis.
All right. Well, here we go. Video Nasty, written by Thomas Devlin. Be kind. Please rewind. Exterior, the neighborhood, night. Our heavy breath fills our mask as we stare at the house across the street. It's a cookie-cutter American craftsman that looks like every other house on the block. But there is something special about this house. A reason this is the one we're standing outside. This is where the girl, 15, lives. The girl watching TV in the living room, the one we can see through the window. We move across the street and peer through the glass. She's bathed in the glow of the TV, sipping fruit punch that stains her lip, and utterly oblivious to our presence until a cat yowls from the bushes. Her head whips around. We duck below the window as she comes to look outside. But she doesn't see us. So she goes back. We stand up just in time to catch her turn off the TV. A shiver runs down her spine. She walks out of the living room and we follow her onto the stoop. We look inside the frost window by the front door and we see the girl's silhouette travel up the stairs. Once she's out of sight, we look down at our yellow glove, at the blood-soaked house key held within our palm. We unlock the door and step into the foyer. We quietly close the door behind us. No reason to make the neighbors suspicious. And listen. We hear her upstairs. She's singing to herself a sweet, gentle melody. We ascend the stairs slowly, the sound of her voice acting as our siren song, until we reach the upstairs hallway. At the end of the hall, we see the light glowing through the crack in her bedroom door. Her song grows louder with every step we take. We look down at the knife in our hand, our gloved thumb rubbing the fat end of the blade in anticipation, until we reach her bedroom. We push open the door and see her sitting at her vanity, brushing her hair in front of the mirror. Her song hides the groan of the floorboards as we get closer and closer and closer. We gaze upon our blade as we raise it up high into the air. But when we look back down, we see it. Her mirror. We see ourselves peering out from behind a rubber mask. Then we come to a horrifying realization. The girl has no reflection. At that moment, she whips around. She opens her gaping maw to reveal her vicious vampire fangs. She pounces. We fall backward onto the floor. She bites onto our throat. We see our blood spray across the room. That's the last thing we see before we die. The end. Written and directed by Shawn and Lena Wright.
Shawn.
Interior of the old bedroom day. Shawn Wright, 14, sits on the floor in front of his laptop in a bedroom that's decorated like the floor of a horror convention. Between the posters for Carpenter and Hooper flicks, NECA action figures, and Stephen King books, it's a horror fan's dream. Or it used to be anyway. Now half of his stuff has been packed in the moving boxes.
Shawn.
The door swings open, and his sister Lena, 15, steps inside. She's the same girl from the video, minus the fangs.
You haven't finished packing?
I was feeling nostalgic.
She walks inside and checks the screen.
Ah, Girls Suck, our masterpiece.
I always preferred Mr. Buzz.
That's because you kill me in that one.
She slams the clamshell closed.
Hey,
Mom's gonna kill you when she finds out you're not done.
at least if I'm dead, I won't have to move to Pennsylvania.
She pretends to hack him with a rubber cleaver.
Holdenfield won't be that bad.
She starts throwing more stuff into boxes. Knife gloves, hockey masks, a good guy doll.
Did you know a bunch of kids there went missing in the 80s? No one knows what happened to them. Just vanished.
Is that supposed to sell me?
Of course, we love that spooky shit.
Shawn goes to the window and looks outside at the bustling city life happening outside their brownstone.
I just don't understand why things have to change.
Lena takes a framed photograph off of Shawn's shelf.
Yes, you do.
She gazes at the image of the two of them as kids meeting Robert England. Standing next to them is their smiling dad. She places it gently in a box.
Because Mom can't afford this place by herself.
She unplugs the dusty VCR. When Shawn hears the sound of a trash bag, he whips around.
What are you doing?
Throwing it out?
No, you're not.
He darts over and rips it from her grip.
Shawn, it's ancient.
Yeah, that means it's better. A lot of movies only exist on VHS.
You can't take everything with you.
Why not? Why does everything have to be different now?
She sees this as about more than a tape player.
I know. I'm scared too.
I've seen every horror movie ever made. I'm not scared.
Nothing important is going to change. You'll still have Mom. You'll still have me. We'll still make popcorn and watch gory movies.
Promise.
Promise.
She takes the VCR from his hand.
I won't leave you behind.
She tosses the VCR into a box, and we smash to Video Nasty. Interior of the bus day. Shawn sits alone on the bus listening to the Halloween soundtrack on a Walkman. He looks out the window at the suburbs. He's still not used to this. 3 months later. He twists around in his seat and looks past the rows of rowdy kids to see Lena sitting in the back. She's with another girl, Izzy, 16. Izzy is cool. Much cooler than Shawn. Lena doesn't notice him staring at her, or she's ignoring him. He can never tell anymore. The truth is, she just hasn't noticed. She has other things on her mind. Namely, Izzy, who's resting her head on Lena's shoulder. They're sharing a pair of AirPods.
This is my favorite part.
Lena tries to listen, but keeps getting distracted by the smell of Izzy's hair. When the song ends, Izzy sits up and peels off the headphones.
What do you think?
Lena stares into her eyes.
Beautiful. I don't really know much about music, but it's like happy and sad and familiar, yet totally new all at the same time. How does she do that?
She's bouncing between the fourth and the minor sixth. So you're not sure where you're emotionally, but then she blinds you up with the pre-chorus and it hits you with the drop. And then the chorus, you get the lift. Oh, the catharsis you've been craving. She's a genius.
Amazing.
She's going to play at the Factory. It's like the only venue in town that's cool, but like her shows at the end of the month, we should go together.
Really?
Of course. This town can be kind of lame, but its charms, you have the right person. It has its charms if you have the right person to show you around.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
She blushes. She can't help it. Shawn can see there's no way she's going to notice him. But as he's about to turn around, a douchebag stands up and blocks his sight.
Don't look at me.
Shit. Shawn turns around and sinks into his seat, trying to appear as inconspicuous as possible. It doesn't work. The douchebag jumps into the seat behind Shawn and looms over him. Shawn can feel his flaming hot Cheeto breath on the back of his neck.
I said, don't look at me.
Shawn tries to disassociate by turning up the music.
I'm not.
He glances up to see all the kids waiting to see what will happen next. A bunch are filming with their cell phones. The douchebag grabs the wire of Shawn's headphones and rips the Walkman from his hands.
Hey.
He hits the button and the cassette pops out.
What the fuck is this?
Before Shawn can respond, the douchebag grabs Shawn's backpack.
What are the weird ass shit you have in here?
Stop.
He tries to grab it back, but it's too late. The douchebag is already digging around inside. Shawn is forced to watch helplessly as the douchebag pulls out a bottle of fake blood. Without missing a beat, he squeezes the tube and sprays Shawn in the face to an eruption of laughter. The commotion up front finally alerts Lena. She bolts to her feet.
Hey.
The bus comes to a stop. Shawn finally wrenches the bag away from the douchebag and rushes to the exit. Exterior of the suburbs day. Shawn bounds up the steps and races home. A moment later, Lena follows him out.
Shawn, wait.
but he's already out of earshot. She sighs. She follows Shawn as the two walk home a full block apart, past rows of modest houses. They pass an abandoned house littered with generations of missing person signs. A strong gust of wind blows up some of the flyers loose. One hits Shawn in the face, sticking to the blood. He rips it off and inspects it. Allison Quigley, age 16, missing since June 30th, 1986. He tries and fails to get it off of his fingers all the way home. Interior the kitchen evening. Lena listens to the music from her AirPods and grins as she texts on her phone. Shawn, his face still stained with the traces of blood, stares at her as he moves the food around his plate. Finally.
What's so funny?
But she doesn't hear him.
Lena,
She takes a pot out.
what's funny?
Nothing.
But obviously that's bullshit because she gets another text and immediately cracks up.
Fuck!
They both looked at their harried mom storming into the room holding her phone.
What's wrong?
The company sent me to Virginia for a mandatory team building retreat.
Sucks.
Yeah, it does. Anyway, that woman from down the street is going to stay here while I'm gone.
Miss Kerrigan?
The fuck no.
Hey!
A babysitter? I'm 16.
So is Allison Quigley.
Lena shoots and daggers.
You're not helping.
Just saying.
He's right. Bradley Clark, Joanne Merchant.
So because a few kids went missing in the 80s, I need off-brand Shelley Winters to surveil my every move?
Not risking it, kiddo.
I'll stay at Izzy's.
What about your brother?
You can stay at a friend's house.
Whose?
Silence.
You're getting a babysitter.
Interior the hallway, night. Lena stands in the dark outside of the door, covered in fright rag stickers. She knocks.
What?
Can I come in?
After a pregnant silence.
It's open.
She opens the door to Shawn's new room. It's practically empty. He still can't bring himself to unpack. Shawn is on his bed watching a movie on his old TV.
Hey,
She steps inside.
Dream Warriors again?
It's my favorite.
But you've seen it 100 times.
Oh, it's this part.
Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Exactly. No matter how many times I watch it, it never changes.
She chooses her next words carefully.
I'm sorry about today. The bus. I didn't realize what was happening.
He shrugs.
You were talking to that girl, I get it.
She sits on the edge of his bed.
Sucks about the babysitter.
Doesn't affect my weekend either way.
All right, time for an olive branch.
Maybe since we're stuck together, we can watch a movie or something.
Shawn hits pause. That's intriguing.
Really? You promise?
I'll make popcorn the way you like it, olive oil and Old Bay.
He sits up.
Camp Slasher Marathon. Sleepaway Camp. Burning. Mad Men.
Just one.
Deal.
She glances at the movie.
Preferably one we haven't seen before.
I'll find it.
She gets up and goes to the door.
Be cool?
He hits play on the movie. She'll take it. She closes the door behind her and he grins. Interior the classroom, day. The teacher casually locks the door and turns out the lights.
You know the drill, guys. Under your desks now. No talking.
Shawn and the other students all crawl under their desks. Shawn surveys his peers. Every one of them is on their phone, texting, TikToking, Instagramming, snapping. He rolls his eyes as he pulls out a dog-eared Clive Barker book from his bag and starts to read. But he gradually becomes aware of the giggling happening around him. He sinks. He knows that sound well. He looks up to see some kids looking in his direction. Then he feels a buzz in his pocket. He pulls out his phone. It's a text, a picture of Shawn taken a moment ago under the words, "Found the school shooter." His ears go hot and he shoves the phone back into his pocket, swallowing the lump in his throat. Interior, the school hallway, day. Shawn keeps his head in his locker, a brief respite from the day. Eventually, he takes out his backpack and closes his locker. It's the only one with insults carved into its surface. Exterior, the school, day. Shawn trudges to a row of idling buses, one of the last to arrive. He goes to his bus and looks at the kids in the window, the ones who hate him. And he sees Lena in the back, too distracted by Izzy to protect him. and he feels another buzz in his pocket. He looks at his phone. More abuse. So, with a hearty fuck this, he hurls his phone at the ground and turns around and walks away. The bus pulls away without Lena ever realizing her brother isn't on it. Exterior, the old graveyard day. Shawn takes a shortcut home to the untamed grass of a forgotten cemetery. After navigating through the tombstones, he emerges onto a neglected road when he notices something up ahead. An empty parking lot and a strip mall. Exterior, the strip mall. Shawn looks at the sign that looms over the parking lot and reads the names of the stores located here. Only one catches his attention. Video Castle. A grin spreads across his face and he speeds past a row of stores before arriving at the last one on the left. Video Castle. But when he gets there, his shoulders sink. It's obviously closed. He peers inside its dark windows when he hears a caw. He looks up to see a crow perched on the sign. It caws again, almost as if it's warning him. He looks back to the store and furrows his brow. The lights are on. A sign on the door says open. He hadn't noticed it before, but Shawn knows a plot development when he sees one. So, he goes through its doors. Interior, Video Castle day. Shawn is immediately confronted by the smell of stale carpet and decaying plastic. There's no one here. Maybe it is closed.
Hello?
He clocks the sun-faded posters, the expired snacks, and the shelves of DVDs. He checks the signs that hang from the ceiling. Action, drama, comedy, and
Horror.
he navigates the rows of shelves until he reaches the horror section. He surveys the inventory. Abominable Mr. Vibes, Alice, Sweet Alice, American Werewolf in London, Amityville Horror, April Fool's Day, Army of Darkness, Audition, Audrey Rose.
Can I help you?
Shawn jumps out of his skin. He turns to see, standing at the end of the aisle, Barbara, 60s, ghost white hair and a face like a Renaissance painting. Shawn swallows.
I'm sorry, I wasn't sure. Are you open?
Difficult to say. No one comes in anymore, but I insist on keeping the lights on. Creature of habit.
She strolls closer.
Back in the 80s, there were so many people here on a Friday night. One could barely move.
Shawn shakes his head.
Things were better then. Movies, people.
But things change, don't they?
Yeah, I was born in the wrong era.
Is that so?
She towers over him. He clears his throat.
I'm looking for a scary movie.
You've come to the right place.
Shawn looks over the selection.
Is this all you have?
This is the pinnacle of what the genre has to offer.
You have the obvious ones, sure, but I'm trying to impress someone. I need something she's never seen.
I'm afraid what you see is what we have.
Shawn sinks.
All right, well, thanks anyway.
Barbara watches him move towards the doors.
I do have some more obscure titles not on display.
Shawn turns back around.
Unfortunately, they can only be played on an older device.
Shawn perks up.
Like a VCR?
Interior, the back office day. Shawn hovers in the doorway as Barbara unlocks the door in the floor.
Years ago, there were these films deemed too horrific for public consumption.
She opens the door and reaches deep inside.
Cinema so filled to the brim with murder, mayhem, and mutilation that their mere existence was considered a crime against humanity.
She comes back with a stack of videotapes.
They were called video nasties.
Interior, Video Castle, front counter day. Shawn stands before the register appraising the stack of tapes. His eyes run down the titles. Slaughter Fodder, The Heinous, Piccolo Acosto, God Can't Save You, etc.
I've never heard of any of these.
Collector's items traded on the black market, known only to true aficionados of the morbid and the macabre. Some of these are only bootlegs left in existence.
He takes one off the top of the stack.
How they bleed.
He flips it over and reads the back.
One night in a sleepy suburb, a group of unsuspecting teenagers are terrorized by an unstoppable killer. A slasher?
Indeed.
I don't know. We've seen Faces of Death, Cannibal Ferox, and Mr. Hands. I doubt a maniac with a mask and a machete is going to get our hearts pounded.
I promise you've never seen anything like this before.
She goes to take it back.
But if you're too frightened...
I didn't say that.
He scrutinizes the cover. a blood-drenched sickle.
She definitely is not seeing this.
He pulls a wad of dollars from his pocket.
Do I need to open an account?
She opens the register.
I trust your return.
Exterior Video Castle day. Shawn grips the tape tight in his hand as he leaves Video Castle behind him. From inside the store, watching him from the window, Barbara is laughing like a madwoman. Interior the foyer day. Shawn opens the front door and is immediately greeted by his mom's barely concealed rage.
Hello, Kerrigan. Yeah, it's me again. Please answer your fucking phone.
The kitchen. Shawn walks into the kitchen and sees his mom on the phone, pacing back and forth by her luggage, and Lena sitting on the countertop, eating an apple and grinning from ear to ear.
What's happening?
Kerrigan isn't coming.
Really?
Yeah, and these fucking birds won't shut the fuck up. She texted me 2 hours before my plane leaves. She texts me. Can't make it. Cat is sick. I hope it goes Cujo on her fucking ass.
Honk.
Great. Ha! Great! My car is here.
She takes a breath, settles down.
Okay, change of plan. No babysitter.
The kids try not to celebrate too obviously.
Lena, you are in charge. That means you do not leave this house. You do not have anyone over. You don't consume anything that requires federal identification. You text me a picture of yourselves every hour on the hour. And you do not go and answer the door to strangers. Got it?
Yes, mother dearest.
All right!
Mom grabs her bag.
Don't make me regret this.
She quickly hugs them both and rushes out the door. And then there were two.
Yes!
Lena hops off the counter and dances to herself. Shawn grins and proudly holds up the tape.
Look what I got.
She pulls out her phone and marches down the hall and up the stairs. Shawn sinks. He looks at the tape with the bloody sickle and nods. This is going to work. He's going to win his sister back.
This is a phenomenal development.
Interior Lena's room day. Lena wanders her room speaking to Izzy on FaceTime.
Game changer.
Mm-hmm. And perfect timing. Word around the campfire is that Nate Evans' older brother gave him an unused cake from his frat, and he's having people over at 9. Want to be my date?
Oh my god, yes.
Then she stops in her tracks.
Wait. Actually, I don't think I can leave Shawn.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe I could come over.
Yes.
I don't want you to miss your party because of me.
Could even have fun if you weren't there. Who are we kidding?
Lena blushes.
Well, yeah, if we were being honest.
Just us girls?
Lena bites her lip. Interior Shawn's new bedroom evening. Shawn searches through one of the moving boxes he still hasn't unpacked until he finds the VCR. With the tape player tucked under one arm and the movie held in the other, he bounds out of the room and down the stairs. Interior the kitchen evening. Shawn follows the smell of butter into the kitchen. He sees Lena adding olive oil and Old Bay to a bowl of popcorn, just the way he likes it. Perfect.
Ready for the movie?
What are we watching?
Shawn spins around to see, to his abject horror, Izzy, sitting in holding a half-empty bottle of Merlot. He backs away.
What is she doing here?
She's sleeping over.
Lena walks by with popcorn and Shawn watches as the two of them go into the living room. They sit down on the couch and start eating popcorn and pouring wine. Shawn follows.
Mom said no one else was allowed.
Lena and Izzy exchange an "is he serious" look.
Are you going to tell her?
Gosh, Shawn, you know what they say about stitches and who's liable to get them?
They're already ganging up against him.
You said we were going to watch a scary movie.
Ooh!
Yeah,
Ooh.
sorry. Izzy doesn't like horror movies.
Melissa.
Let's pick something else.
He grinds his teeth.
I don't want to pick something else. I want to watch the movie you promised to watch with me.
That was when we had a babysitter. Things are different now.
Things are different now. He snaps. Shawn kicks the table, sending popcorn and wine spilling across the floor.
Whoa, dude.
What the fuck, Shawn?
The girls jump up from the couch. The wine is all over the carpet.
What the hell is wrong with you?
You've changed and I hate the new you.
Cool. So that's how it is now.
Yeah, I have changed, but you're still the entitled little shit you've always been. Grow the fuck up. Stay the fuck away from me. Go watch your stupid ass movie and leave us alone.
Shawn takes a survey of the chaos he's created. Then he turns on his heel and storms away. Interior Shawn's new bedroom evening. Shawn punches his pillows until he's exhausted all of his energy. He focuses his attention instead on the videotape and the VCR. When he's finally calmed down enough, he crawls across the floor and presses the tape inside the VCR. The screen goes black. The tracking lines briefly fill an image before dispersing. And then, videotape. The interior, the morgue. A woman lies dead within an open casket. Her skin is waxen, her eyes are shut, and her hands are placed over her pregnant belly. The lid is closed and nailed shut. Interior pauper's graveyard morning. The cheap pine coffin lies 6 feet under the earth in a freshly dug hole.
Who is she?
Standing above the hole is a bony, gnarled gravedigger and an ashen white priest.
No one knows. A vagabond, a drunk, a prostitute, another pitiful soul buried in an unnamed grave. Such a tragedy.
The priest walks off.
She was with child.
The gravedigger shakes his head and then picks up a shovel and throws a pile of dirt atop the coffin. Later, a layer of soil covers the surface of the coffin and the gravedigger keeps adding more. But as he digs his shovel into a pile of dirt, he hears something. A crying baby. He surveys the foggy graveyard in search of the source of the wailing, but sees nothing and no one. It's then that he realizes it's coming from inside the coffin. When his mind finally processes this, he jumps into the grave and frantically brushes aside the dirt. He uses his shovel to pry open the lid and cast it aside, revealing the woman's corpse. And between her legs, a newborn.
My God.
He cuts the umbilical cord with the edge of his shovel and then picks up the baby and cradles it to his chest.
This is a miracle.
No, a plague.
He's been with us for 21 years.
Interior asylum hallway day. An administrator and a nurse walk side by side, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous hall.
In all that time, he's never spoken a word to anyone. We used to think him an idiot. But in his way, he displays a remarkable intelligence. Or rather, cunning.
Well, I tried to have snap camera on here, but excuse me. Well, I tell you, but if he isn't able to communicate and he's never lived on his own, then why is the hospital releasing him?
The two B's, budgets and bureaucracy.
But is he dangerous?
No. We have no reason to believe he would even hurt a soul.
But he doesn't sound entirely convinced himself as they reach a closed door. He fumbles with his keys and unlocks the door to the room.
There he is.
They stand in the doorway and see, sitting on a thin cot by the window on a hulking behemoth, the killer. He sits on the edge of his bed, his head hidden below his massive shoulders. Neither the nurse nor the administrator see the rat in his grip, blood oozing from its mouth as he crushes its bones.
In only a matter of hours, our dear boy will be set free into the world. He'll be amongst people. He'll learn how they speak, how they dress, how they love, and
how they bleed. Copyright 1985, all rights reserved. Interior, Shawn's new bedroom night. Shawn's eyes glow in the light of the TV, hypnotized by the droning synths. This is what he needed. This is medicine. This is heroin.
He's
such a shit.
Interior, the living room night. While Izzy collects popcorn off of the floor, Lena distributes baking powder on the wine stain.
The audacity, the unimagined gall.
I mean, he's just wanted to hang out with his sister.
Lena pours club soda over the baking powder.
He's an immature little ass who would rather live in the past than deal with reality.
He sure likes scary movies.
She goes to the DVD collection.
Guess I never understood why anyone would want to be scared.
Really? You don't think it's fun?
Oh, when I was a kid, my cousin gave me her old Furby. Do you remember those? Those toys with the giant eyes that would randomly speak in tongues? I still have PTSD from all of the times it woke me up in the middle of the night. I have constant nightmares that it's watching me sleep. Not once did I find that experience fun.
She pulls the Halloween box set off the shelf.
Is this Jason?
No. Halloween is Michael Myers. He kills babysitters. Jason is Friday the 13th and mostly sticks to camp counselors.
What about Freddy?
Haunts the nightmares of the children of Elm Street. Those were always our favorite, especially the third one, Dream Warriors. That's when the kids learn they can manipulate the dream world and fight back, change it to whatever they want to be.
Izzy watches amazed as Lena pats at the carpet with paper towel, lifting the stain and leaving it clean underneath.
Wow, you are good at that.
I've had a lot of practice getting bloodstains out of fabric. Fake blood. Back in the city, Shawn and I would make these dumb little movies that involved a lot of red dye and corn syrup. Proper cleanup became a survival method.
Izzy stands straight up.
What?
You have to show me.
Interior Shawn's new bedroom night. Shawn has moved even closer to the TV as blood and gore spray across the screen. He watches an old man take a sickle to the jugular. Then a hard cut to black, followed by new wave music. Interior teen girl's bathroom night. Steam fills the bathroom as a teen girl, 16, dances to the radio behind the frosted glass of the shower. But suddenly, the music cuts off.
Excuse the interruption. Police are reporting a double homicide at the Jenkins farm. The victims appear to have been murdered by what is the authorities are describing as some sort of hooked blade.
She reaches her arm out and turns off the radio. She then grabs a towel and emerges a moment later. She wipes the steam off of the mirror, revealing her face. Pause. Interior Shawn's new bedroom. Shawn narrows his eyes. He scrutinizes the girl's expression on the tape as the tape gently tremors. He inches closer and then grabs the tape's box.
Where have I seen you before?
He reads the back of the box, but he sees no names of actors. He bites his lip and continues to stare, shrugs. He hits play and watches her brush her wet hair, still trying to place the face when, boom. Both Shawn and the teen girl jump at the sound of thunder outside their respective windows. Shawn clutches his chest as she does the same. He looks to the window and sees the first drops of rain pelting the window. Meanwhile, the teen girl doesn't see the killer standing in her yard holding a sickle. Interior Lena's room night. Lena and Izzy sit at the edge of Lena's bed, her laptop between them. Izzy is watching Lena run screaming from what is clearly Shawn in a welding mask with buzzsaws for hands. Meanwhile, Lena is watching Izzy with growing anxiety.
I know, it's gross and stupid.
You are so effing cool.
Lena breathes a sigh of relief.
Really? You like it?
Are you kidding me? That was amazing.
She blushes.
You're such a good actress. And that was Shawn as Mr. Buzzkill, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had to shoot it Lord of the Rings style so that he'd look taller.
I am in awe of you, like literal awe. I had no idea you were so spooky.
The two stare deep into each other's eyes. Then Lena kisses her. It was only a matter of time. But after a moment, she pulls away.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm really sorry. That was so not cool. You did not consent to that. I like you so much, but I shouldn't have.
Lena takes Izzy by the chin.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello?
Interior, the teen girl's bedroom night. Wrapped in her towel, the teen girl holds her giant phone to her ear, twirling the cord around her finger as she searches her closet for an outfit.
Hey there.
She smiles.
Hey, Brad.
Click.
Hello?
It's for me, Daddy. Brad's calling.
Hi, Mr. Q.
You kids don't hold up the line now for too long.
Click.
To what do I owe the pleasure?
Wonder if we're going to Joanne's party tonight.
It's only the social event of the season.
Click.
Dad, get off the line.
Silence.
Daddy.
What's going?
Shh.
She listens and hears on the phone, ever so faintly, heavy breathing.
Brad, I'm going to call you back.
She hangs up and looks out into her hallway.
Dad?
Interior, Shawn's new bedroom. Shawn watches the teen girl peer out into her hallway as the music gets even more ominous. He smiles. The good shit is coming. Outside, lightning flashes. Interior, Lena's room. Lena and Izzy awkwardly kiss atop Lena's bed, neither sure what to do with their hands when, boom, they both jump. Izzy giggles, but Lena frowns at the rain battering her window.
Was it supposed to storm tonight?
Who cares?
She pulls Lena's face back to hers. Interior, the teen girl's kitchen. The teen girl, wearing a pink dress, steps into her kitchen. The first thing she sees is the phone hanging off the hook, dangling back and forth. She looks into the living room. Her dad is on his lazy boy in front of a football on TV.
Daddy, the phone is off the hook.
No response. The volume is loud. Maybe he didn't hear her. So she hangs up the phone and marches into the living room. She reaches for the back of the chair.
You know, if you sit too close to the TV, you're going to give yourself a splitting headache.
She spins the chair to find her dad eviscerated, cut in half, groin to scalp. She screams as the last threads of sinew holding him together tear and he splits like a banana peel, his insides spilling onto the floor. Interior, Shawn's new bedroom. Shawn grabs his face with ecstatic disgust, marveling at the ingenuity and skill that went into the makeup.
Holy shit.
Interior, the teen girl's living room. The teen girl's face goes white as she backs away from her dead father, her feet sloshing on the blood-soaked carpet. She turns and runs back into the kitchen. But as soon as she steps into the sleek linoleum, she slips and falls to the ground. She scrambles and crawls to the wall where she grabs the phone and dials.
Hello, police. My name is Allison Quigley and my dad has been...
But the blade of the sickle cuts the phone cord. She looks up and screams.
Wait.
Interior, the basement. Shawn leans forward, his brow furrowed when he watches her narrowly escape the killer. He focuses on her screaming face.
No way.
He jumps to his feet and runs to the trash can in the corner.
No fucking way.
He digs around inside until he pulls out the sticky, crumpled missing persons flyer. His eyes go wide as he absorbs the sight of Allison Quigley. And as the teen girl in the movie manages to escape her house and run outside, he holds up the flyer and compares the images. It's the same fucking girl. He grabs the remote as the camera goes into a close-up of her terrified face. But as she opens her mouth to scream, he hits pause, only to hear a scream coming from outside. His heart drops into his stomach, and he looks to the window. There's no way. Interior, Lena's room. Lena releases her lips from Izzy's.
Did you hear that?
No.
Lena gets up off the bed.
I heard someone screaming.
No, come back.
She looks out the window, but can't see anything past the rain.
It's probably your brother's movie.
No, it was outside. A girl.
She listens for more screaming, but all she hears is the rain on the window. Until, bang, bang, bang. The girls exchange frightened looks. Bang, bang, bang. The front door. Interior, Shawn's new bedroom. Shawn holds his breath, only the hum of the TV and the patter of rain on the window, waiting for bang, bang, bang.
Someone, please help!
Ooh. Someone, please help!
Interior, the foyer. Lena and Izzy hold each other as they quietly creep down the stairs, their eyes fixed on the door. They reach the bottom, and Lena slowly, cautiously peers out the window when...
Don't open it.
They yelp and turn to see Shawn cowering at the top of the stairs.
There's no one there.
Just then, a girl bangs on the window in the kitchen.
Please help me!
The girls scream. Shawn's heart drops into his stomach. The girl is in the dark, obscured by the rain, but she's wearing a pink dress.
It's a girl.
She runs to the kitchen and sees the girl in the dark, soaked from the rain.
Lena, stop.
But she's already gesturing to the back door.
She needs help.
While Izzy runs after Lena, Shawn slowly descends the stairs, his knees shaking, his fingers tightly gripping the banister. Interior the living room. Lena and Izzy rush to the back door, unlock it, and let the teen girl inside. Shawn turns the corner into the kitchen. His legs almost buckle beneath him when he sees her. It's Allison. Allison from the goddamn fucking movie. To avoid fainting, he keeps repeating,
It's only a movie. It's only a movie. It's only a movie.
Allison collapses into Lena's arms, gasping for air between heaving sobs.
You killed him. He's coming for me.
Lena and Izzy exchange panicked looks. Lena immediately locks the door.
I'm calling 911.
Izzy dials her phone when Lena clutches Allison and tries to keep it together.
Who is coming for you?
The killer.
My call isn't going through. I don't have any service.
Lena checks her phone.
Neither do I.
Do you have a landline?
Is that a serious question?
What? We do.
Allison breaks away from Izzy's grip.
We have to hide.
She runs into the kitchen. Shawn backs into the corner as Allison runs past him. They make eye contact. It's her. It's really her in his house.
We're all going to die.
She runs down the stairs into the basement. Shawn keeps swallowing, trying to speak.
Lena.
But he can barely hear himself. He clears his throat.
Lena!
Boom! They all jump.
Fuck.
Lena and Izzy rush for the stairs, leaving Shawn paralyzed in the corner. Alone in the kitchen, he watches the bloody handprints get washed away in the rain, his entire world shifting beneath his feet. He thinks and then runs upstairs. Interior of the basement. Shawn carries the VCR into the basement. He finds Lena and Izzy by Allison, clutching her knees and rocking back and forth on the couch.
You're safe with us. We won't let anyone hurt you.
Shawn inches towards the TV.
No, you didn't see him. He's coming for me. He's coming for all of us.
He plugs in the VCR.
What's your name?
Before she can answer,
Allison.
They turn to Shawn, turning on the TV.
Her name is Allison Quigley.
He knows how crazy this is going to sound, but...
She's the girl who went missing in the 80s.
Shawn, this isn't the time to...
Everyone calls me Allie.
Lena and Izzy stare. Wait, what?
How did you...
Look.
He pushes the tape into the VCR. Then on screen, a house. But not just any house. Their house. Shawn's face falls. He wasn't expecting that. Both Lena and Izzy stand and approach the television.
What is this?
Shawn doesn't have an answer.
That's your house.
Lightning flashes both on the screen and outside the window.
Is this live? How are you doing this?
It's a VHS. Wait,
She grabs the remote and turns up the volume.
do you hear that?
Yes, they hear heavy breathing. And it dawns on them.
That's a point of view shot.
On cue, the POV moves from across the street onto their front yard. The blood drains from all of their faces. They all look to each other for answers, but that no one has. Allison buries her face into her knees and whimpers.
He's coming.
Despite everything about this being utterly at odds with their conception of the rational rules of the universe, no one can deny it. He is coming. The POV moves onto the front porch where Allison's bloody handprints are still on the door.
He's outside.
Izzy can't handle this.
Who's he? The movie? Are you saying the fucking movie is outside?
They watch a dirty hand try the door.
What?
I don't remember.
The hand pulls on the door, but it is locked. The POV looks through the window's frosted glass.
At least we know where he is.
And because this is a horror movie and all of the elements are conspiring against them, lightning flashes outside, thunder bellows, and the power goes out, plunging them all into darkness. The lights, the TV, their hope for survival, all gone. All they can hear is their own hushed, panicked breathing. Lena turns on the flashlight on her phone.
He's going to kill us. He's going to kill us. Shh.
But then, crash, the sound of breaking glass and then the groan of floorboards above their heads.
He's inside the house.
We have to get out of here.
Is there another way out?
No.
Yes, the
Cellar door.
They turn their lights to the staircase and back. Allison jumps to her feet and sprints for it. The others follow, but as Shawn brings up the rear, lightning flashes and illuminates the window. And he sees someone walking by.
Wait.
But it's too late. Allison runs up the stairs, unlatches the lock, pushes open the doors, and sees him, the killer. She sees his mask, warped and distorted, obscured by tracking lines, too terrifying for magnetic tape to process. And before she can scream, he swings his sickle and decapitates her. Her head bounces down the steps. It rolls to Lena's feet, and after a moment, it looks up at her with wide eyes.
Don't let him kill you. If he kills you, he has you forever. Trapped on the tape for eternity, dying over and over again, and it always hurts, Lena. It always hurts.
She saw it. She heard it, but she can't believe it. She looks up to see the killer coming down the stairs, stepping over Allison's crumpled, headless body. Instinct kicks in. She turns and grabs Izzy by the hand and runs, pulling Izzy behind her. Shawn starts to follow, but stops. He looks from the girls running up the stairs to the VCR and the killer stalking towards him. He dives to the VCR. He hits eject. No power. He reaches inside and tries to pry the tape out, but can't do it.
Shawn!
Fuck it. He yanks the power cord out of the wall and the aux cables from the TV and takes the whole VCR. The tape player under his arm, he scrambles up the staircase where Lena and Izzy are waiting at the top.
Hurry!
With the killer perilously close, he runs through the door and falls into the kitchen. Lena looks back and sees the killer right behind them. He swings the sickle as she slams the door closed. The blade pierces through the wood as she locks the door. The three watch in horror as he pulls back the sickle and then slams into the door over and over again. They back away as splinters fly through the air.
Come on.
Lena runs down the hall to the front door. Izzy follows.
Now.
Shawn starts to run for the door when he realizes the killer has stopped trying to break through.
Shit.
But he runs after them anyway. Exterior of the house night. The three scramble out the front door and across the lawn when they get to the street.
Wait.
They stop and survey their surroundings.
Where are we?
They're in their neighborhood, but it's different. The houses are smaller. The cars in the driveway are all from the 70s and 80s. Palm trees line the street. But there's no time to process this because...
Guys.
They look to see the killer emerge from the cellar and stalk across the lawn.
Run!
They sprint up the road, racing as fast as their legs will take them. Shawn looks back at the killer slowly walking behind them. He turns back and keeps running, but when he looks behind again, the killer is still walking and still just as close. But then a godsend, headlights up ahead. The three frantically wave and yell at the approaching 1983 Chevy Malibu. But despite their cries, it speeds towards them.
Stop!
Finally, the car hits the brakes and screeches to a stop right in front of them. The three circle the car and jump inside. The Chevy Malibu. Brad, 17, in his Letterman jacket, watches helplessly as Shawn jumps into the passenger seat and Lena and Izzy dive into the back.
Hey, what the fuck you guys do?
Drive!
This isn't a fucking taxi service!
He sees the killer.
Who's that butthead?
And then he sees the bloody sickle glowing in headlights, and he's getting closer and closer.
Oh, shit!
Shawn hops over the center console and slams his foot on the gas, shooting the car forward and hitting the killer. He rolls over the hood, cracks the windshield, and tumbles across the roof before the blade stabs through the ceiling and slashes Lena's arm. She cries out in pain and looks back at the killer's distorted face in the back window, still holding on to his weapon. He winds up, punches through the glass, and grabs
Izzy.
The killer's filthy, meaty fingers grip Izzy's shirt, and he wrenches her backwards, but Lena grabs her and pulls her back. Shawn watches frozen as Lena and Izzy try to pry his fingers away. While Brad's distracted by their struggle in the rear view, he drives to an intersection and a station wagon smashes into the truck. The Malibu spins as the killer is hurled through the air. The car comes to a stop in the middle of the road. Once they've recovered, Lena holds Izzy tight.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
But Izzy focuses on Lena's torn sleeve and bleeding arm.
You?
Shawn and Brad focus on the station wagon through the shattered windshield. After a moment, the driver gets out. He looks at his totaled car.
What the hell?
He turns to them.
There was a goddamn stop sign, asshole.
The sickle slices through his waist.
Oh my God!
His torso topples onto the asphalt, revealing the killer behind, a geyser of blood erupting from the pelvis. Brad throws the car into reverse, accelerating backwards before whipping the car around and careening forward. The kids look back through the broken window at the shower of sparks caused by Brad's dragging bumper and the killer standing in the distance, watching them go. They're safe. For now. Brad keeps the pedal pressed to the floor, blowing through intersections, getting as far from the killer as possible.
My Malibu! My beautiful fucking Malibu! You fuckers! It's fucking fuck!
He turns to Shawn.
This is your fault. This is all your fucking fault!
Shawn's about to respond, but then gets a good look at Brad's face and realizes.
Shit, you're Brad.
Yeah? So what?
Bradley Clark, you disappeared in 1987.
For a brief moment, Brad's anger falters and a look of recognition flashes across his face. But then he slams on the brakes and sends everyone flying forward.
Get out.
Excuse me?
He doesn't wait for them to before climbing out of the car and marching to the passenger side. He swings the door open, grabs Shawn by the shirt, and drags him out onto the street. Shawn hits the asphalt.
Hey!
Lena and Izzy leap from the car.
You can't leave us here.
Brad makes his way to the driver's seat.
The killer!
Not my goddamn problem.
He slams the door closed and peels out, dragging the bumper behind him until it finally falls off. The three of them stand alone in the middle of the dark street with no idea what to do next.
Fuck!
Shawn picks himself up as Lena paces back and forth.
What the fuck, Shawn? What the fuck? What is happening?
And where are we? This is not your neighborhood. This is like Pasadena.
Shawn looks around at the neighborhood he doesn't recognize, trying to make sense of the senseless.
We're in the movie.
What?
The tape I rented from the video store, we're in it. I don't know how, but we're in the movie.
No, shut up. That isn't possible.
I talked to you.
She looks at Izzy. She can't be buying this, right?
That poor girl's head, it talked to you. This is impossible, but I saw it happen.
Lena can't deny it. But she's going to try anyway.
What did it say?
She shakes her head, refusing to answer. Why should she? It didn't happen.
Lena!
Lena swallows. Fine.
If he kills us, we're trapped in the tape forever.
Izzy looks to Shawn.
Girl, you said she's one of the kids who disappeared in the 80s?
Allison Quigley.
And that was really Bradley Clark.
He nods.
They must have rented the same movie I did.
Enough. What movie are you talking about?
How They Bleed. I got it from a weird woman at a video store with a lot of red flags I'm only now recognizing in retrospect.
So this is your fault.
I wanted to watch Sleepaway Camp.
Stop it! Okay, assuming I'm not actually dead or in a coma and all of this is really happening, we can't waste time fighting with each other. We need to get out of here without dying or we'll be trapped here just like them.
How do we get out if we don't even know how we got in?
That's a good question. One neither has an answer for. But after searching his brain, Shawn has a revelation.
The tape. Reality started warping after I put it on. If we destroy it, well, maybe things will go back to normal.
Or we'll be stuck here forever.
Do you have a better idea?
Lena and Izzy exchange looks. They don't.
Fine. Where is it?
He opens his mouth, but remembers his hands are empty and his shoulders sink.
In the Malibu.
You left it in his car?
He dragged me onto the street.
God fucking damn it, Shawn.
Stop!
And because it's Izzy saying it, Lena listens. Izzy scans their surroundings.
We need to go.
Go where?
Anywhere. Need I remind you there's a killer out there in the dark?
All three of them survey the dark neighborhood with no idea which way to go first.
At least it stopped raining.
At that moment, the power comes back on, illuminating the street lamps and house lights. As they blink their eyes, a strange sound gradually rises in the distance.
What is that?
It's the faint sound of teenagers cheering, followed by a blast of new wave music. Shawn's eyes go wide.
Joanne's party.
What?
It's the social event of the season. We need to go.
We're in a horror movie and you want to go to a high school party? Are you trying to get murdered?
We're going.
Shawn marches to the Malibu's fallen bumper and holds up the warped license plate. Rad Brad.
Because that's where Brad's going.
Exterior Joanne's house, night. Shawn, Lena, and Izzy follow the sound of music and revelry all the way up the long, arduous hill until they see Joanne's house, a large Victorian that sits perched atop a hill surrounded by woods. The party is already spilling outside with drunken teenagers gallivanting across the yard. They pass car after car, but no sign of the Malibu.
Does anyone see the car?
No, but I see someone who would know where it is.
She points to the front door. They see Brad hooting and hollering with the rest of the football team before disappearing inside.
Okay, here's the plan. We find Brad, force him to take us to his car, and leave with the tape before the inevitable massacre.
The three of them scurry up to the house, but then Shawn stops moving when Lena notices.
What are you doing?
I just realized this is the first party I've ever been to.
Neither Lena or Izzy know what to do with that.
Let's go.
After a moment, he joins them, all the while unaware that, from the woods, they're being watched. Interior Joanne's living room, night. The house is packed with teens in various stages of inebriation. Shawn, Lena, and Izzy navigate the sea of jocks, nerds, preps, freaks, the entire Breakfast Club, all engaged in Reagan-era debauchery.
Jesus, we really are in an 80s movie.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of hard F's being tossed around.
There's a struggle just to move.
You guys are the experts. Are there any, I don't know, horror movie rules that we should be aware of?
Definitely don't have sex with anyone here.
Izzy passes a throng of horn dogs ogling a Hustler magazine.
Not going to be an issue.
Suddenly, a Spaz shoves a camcorder in Lena's face.
Hey.
I'm making a documentary on the hottest babes in school, and journalist integrity means I gotta get an interview with you.
She smacks it away.
Get out of my face.
Whoa, watch the merchandise. This is brand new, top of the line Panasonic camcorder.
They push past him and scan the chaotic living room. They hear outside. Joanne. Interior Joanne's backyard, night. The three of them manage to push and shove their way to the pool. A crowd is formed to watch Joanne, 17, stretching on the diving board. Joanne runs, jumps, and does a perfect dive into the water. The crowd goes wild with cheers and applause. Shawn can't help but clap too. The guy next to him even gives him a high five.
There he is, right there.
They see Brad chugging a beer by the side of the pool. They fight their way over as Joanne is climbing out of the ladder or up the ladder. She shoves her hand in their face, none of them knowing why.
Towel.
She rolls her eyes and pushes them aside, taking a towel from a freshman disciple, all too eager to serve the queen bee.
Thank you, Joanne. You're so perfect.
Joanne has already moved on, drying off as she moves through the party, her guests parting out of her way like the Red Sea. Lena struggles to keep her eyes on Brad when suddenly Izzy grabs her wrist.
What?
That's Joanne Merchant.
When Shawn realizes what she means.
Oh shit, you're right.
She went missing in '89. My mom had her as a student. I can't believe it. She's here.
But Lena is focused on the mission.
But where is Brad?
She lost him. Meanwhile, Joanne takes someone's drink, glugs it, then throws the crushed cup back at them before cupping her hands and yelling it to everyone outside.
Woo! Everyone, the band is starting. I want to see all those sexy bodies moving on the dance floor.
There's a roar of cheers, followed by a mass exodus from the backyard into the living room.
God damn it.
They join the mass migration inside. Meanwhile, in the woods, Spaz is hiding in the woods behind a house, filming the bikini girls still in the pool. He chuckles to himself as he zooms in.
Russ Meyer, eat your heart out.
Thunk! He looks down to see a sickle jutting from his sternum.
Oh?
The camcorder slips from his grip and falls into the dirt as he's slowly raised high into the air and then dropped to the ground with a wet thud. Blood splashes across the lens. Interior Joanne's living room, night. The band is wailing on their synths and guitars for a room absolutely packed with kids dancing to the music. Shawn, Lena, and Izzy have to fight their way into the middle of the dance floor. They get pushed and shoved from all sides, but there's no side of
Brad!
But her voice can't compete with the band.
Oh, okay, screw it. Let's just find the car and break the window.
But we just got here.
Both turn to Shawn. What?
I know, but
he gazes at the party that looks just like the ones in the movies he's watched all his life.
Isn't this amazing? It's the 80s. We're at a party. We're in a movie.
A slasher movie. We could be decapitated.
Better than getting shot by an AR-15 in math class. Look at this place. No one is on their phones, and there's still time to do something about climate change. It's awesome.
Lena opens her mouth to respond when, over the sound of the music, they hear a scream. Not everyone heard it. Some are still dancing, while others look around, silently asking each other if they heard it too. Then there's another. One by one, the members of the band stop playing. For a moment, all that can be heard is a confused murmur. Then,
the pool.
People look to the backyard and see the once brilliant aquamarine pool is now a deep, dark red.
Okay, we can leave now.
A prep is thrown against the big glass doors. Blood sprays out from his throat and all across the glass. There are screams and wails, but people are too shocked by the sight to move. But his body falls and the blood drips down the glass, and they see, standing behind him, the killer. All hell breaks loose. Shawn, Lena, and Izzy are trapped by the bodies and can only watch helplessly as two wrestlers try to hold the door closed. But the killer swings his sickle, breaking the glass and chopping their arms off. It's pandemonium as a stampede moves away from the door. Partiers are pushed and shoved and crushed and trampled. The killer moves through the room like a lawnmower, slicing and dicing everything in his path, which just makes people more desperate to get away, which makes them push harder, which means more people slip on the slick floor. Shawn, Lena, and Izzy are swept up in a wave with no control of where they're going. They start to separate.
Lena!
Lena sees Izzy pulled to the left and Shawn shoved to the right, both of them reaching out their arms for her. But the killer is closer to Izzy and he's only getting closer, so she has to make a choice. Shawn watches as Lena takes Izzy's hand and pulls her back towards herself as he drifts further away until they're at the opposite ends of the room. He sees Lena and Izzy disappear in the kitchen while he's pulled into the library. As soon as he steps foot inside, he trips on a severed leg and falls to his knees atop the rug. He tries to stand, but he's kicked and pushed and stepped on by fleeing teens. Finally, the last one runs by and he can scramble back to his feet. He turns just in time to see the killer marching towards him, sickle held high. Thinking fast, Shawn grabs a hold of a bookshelf and pulls it down. It topples into the wall, blocking the door. The killer watches Shawn run away. Temporary setback. Interior Joanne's kitchen. Gripping each other's hands tight, Lena and Izzy are pulled along the raging river of bodies.
We need to find Shawn.
With her free hand, Izzy grabs a hold of the island and the two brace themselves against the onslaught. But when everyone else has passed through, they both take knives from the rack. Interior Joanne's dining room. Shawn runs past a long oak dining table, checking over his shoulder as he runs into the foyer. He sprints for the front door when there's a gridlock of teens all trying to escape at the same time. With no choice but to join the congestion, he runs up just as the killer arrives from the other side. Shawn stops short and falls backward as the killer makes a gruesome work of the poor soul's bottleneck at the door. He jumps to his feet and changes trajectory, running instead up the staircase. As the killer pulls his blade from the last body, he looks up and catches sight of Shawn fleeing just as he makes it to the upstairs hallway. Shawn runs across the hall, looking from room to room for a place to hide when his eyes catch a drawstring swaying back and forth above his head. He jumps and grabs it, pulling down a ladder, and as fast as he can, he climbs up into the attic. He pulls up a ladder and shuts the door, then slowly backs away, trying to remain as quiet as possible. But as soon as he allows himself to exhale, a hand wraps around his mouth. He turns to see Joanne hiding in the shadows.
You shouldn't be here.
She leans in close and whispers in his ear.
This is where I die.
A chill runs down his spine. Exterior Joanne's house. Teens run for their lives across the yard, racing to their cars. Brad manages to push himself through the front door and run for his Malibu, scrambling to get the keys from his pocket. The Malibu. Brad jumps behind the wheel and starts the engine. But after he throws it into reverse, he freezes, and he doesn't know why. He trembles. Fuck! He grits his teeth. Sweat drips down his brow.
Please, I don't want to.
But he can't help it. As if compelled by something outside of himself, he puts the car in drive and speeds up the driveway back to the house. Interior the dining room. Lena peers around the corner of the library, looking like Laurie Strode with her knife at the ready. Izzy looks too, but they see neither Shawn nor the killer. They creep along the wall, checking under the table before getting to the foyer. They freeze when they see the pile of dead bodies. Lena holds her breath as they cautiously approach the mound. She scans the faces for a sign of Shawn. Thankfully, there isn't one. Izzy looks out the open door.
Maybe he got out.
But then Shawn sees a massive bloody boot prints going up the stairs, and instinct tells her that's not true. Interior of the attic. Shawn sets his jaw.
What do you mean where you die?
This is where the killer stabs his sickle through my skull, just like he always does, over and over. That's my role.
No, it doesn't have to be like that. This isn't real. We can take you back with us to the real world.
After a moment, Joanna grins.
Why would I want that? You know, the only thing I remember about the real world, how lonely I was.
That hits close to home.
But here, I'm the most popular girl in school. I'll always be 17. I'll always have friends and a real bitch of a cat. And I'll always host the greatest party of all time. No matter how many times I die, I'll always wake up happy.
Shawn freezes as he hears heavy footsteps stalking across the hallway beneath them. When they're right below their feet, they stop. Silence.
Don't fight it. It's really not so bad.
On cue, a sickle bursts through the bottom of her foot. Shawn backs away as Joanna falls to the floor. The sickle retracts from her foot and erupts out of her back.
See you at school tomorrow.
The blade finally explodes through her head, and he sees her lips curl with a smile before her eyes roll back. Shawn holds his hands over his mouth and listens to the sound of footsteps moving across the hall. Then he sees it across the room. A window. The attic door swings open and the ladder falls. Shawn makes a run for it. But as he passes the door, the killer's arm shoots up from the hole and grabs his ankle. He hits the ground hard. He looks back at the killer halfway up the ladder. He tries to kick his leg free, but it's no use. He's doomed. So he takes a deep breath and prepares for death. The first of many. But as the killer raises his sickle and starts to pull Shawn backwards, in the upstairs hallway, Lena stabs him in the back. The killer looks down at this unexpected development. Lena's just as surprised as he is, but she doesn't waste the opportunity. She stabs him again, then again and again and again. So does Izzy. She goes fucking apeshit on his legs, and they're showered in his black blood. He slips. The attic. Shawn feels the killer's grip loosen. He looks back just in time to see him disappear beneath the hole. He picks himself up and runs to the window. In the upstairs hallway, the killer hangs upside down, his legs stuck through the rung of the ladder, his sickle on the floor. The girls look at each other, neither knowing what to do. So they just start stabbing him, plunging their knives in and out of his torso. His arms flail, trying to grab one of the girls, but it's no use. After taking more stabs than Caesar, the killer goes limp. The girls stand back.
Is he dead?
They never are.
Izzy notices his sickle by the feet. She holds her breath and then picks it up.
Well, in that case...
No.
Too late. Izzy chops the killer's head off. Oily black blood spurts from the hole in his neck.
Well, damn.
The attic. Shawn looks out the open window. After a moment's hesitation, he jumps. The upstairs hallway. Lena sees Shawn plummet past the window at the end of the hall.
John!
Exterior, Joanne's backyard, night. Shawn sails through the air and plunges into the blood-red pool. He sinks to the bottom when he sees a football player's waterlogged corpse staring back at him with dead, soulless eyes. He kicks himself up off the bottom of the pool, but just as he's about to reach the surface, he stops. Panic flashes across his face. He looks down to see the football player holding onto his leg. Black blood oozes from his nose, swirling in the water around him.
Where you going, man?
Shawn kicks his leg.
Don't fight it. Join us. It's better in here. The water's fine.
Shawn's lungs burn and he screams for air. He sees a deep gash in his forearm, so he reaches down, shoves his fingers into the flesh, and pulls. The arm separates and Shawn swims back to the surface. As he splashes and gasps for air, Lena and Izzy race through the shattered back door.
Oh, thank God.
Shawn hurriedly swims up the ladder where Lena tries to help him climb out.
We bought some time. Izzy killed him. Maybe. But you know how these things go.
But he swats her arm away.
Fuck off.
Lena and Izzy watch confused as Shawn storms away, the arm still gripping his ankle.
Where are you going?
Away from you.
Lena and Izzy look at each other. Neither knows what's going on, but they follow him anyway.
Shawn, this is insane. We have to stick together.
She grabs his arm, but he wrenches it away and whips around.
You chose her.
Izzy stops in her tracks.
What are you talking about?
He could have killed me. I'm your brother. You might never have seen me again, but you chose her anyway.
It wasn't like that.
You left me behind.
That hits her like a freight train.
Shawn.
But he's already turned around and rushing away, kicking Savini's arm off as he goes.
Shawn, stop.
She chases him into the woods. Izzy starts to follow, but then stops when something catches her leg. She looks back at an intestine jutting from a dead nerd's eviscerated gut and wrapping around her ankle.
Ah!
She tries to pull away, but it coils higher and tighter. The woods. Shawn navigates through the trees when he hears.
Shawn, where the fuck are you?
He hides behind a tree and peers around to see Lena looking for him. He quietly darts the other direction, putting distance between them when he trips. He looks back at Spaz's torso and next to him, the camcorder. He picks it up and an idea percolates. Elsewhere in the woods, Lena desperately searches for Shawn, but he's nowhere to be found. She tries calling again.
Shawn.
She listens for his response. She doesn't hear it. But she hears something else instead. A familiar sounding engine. When she places it.
Brad.
The backyard. Meanwhile, Izzy is still trying to escape the clutches of the nerd's large intestine. She tries to kick it away with her free leg, but his small intestine bursts out and grabs the other. It pulls her back towards the body.
Fucking hate horror movies.
The front yard. Lena emerges from the woods into the front yard where she sees, idling in the driveway, the Malibu. She runs to the car and swings open the door, and she looks inside, and yes, there it is, the VCR. She reaches in and grabs it, but as she holds it triumphantly above her head, the sleeve of the Letterman jacket wraps around her face. Her eyes go wide as Brad pulls her backwards and she drops the VCR onto the asphalt. It smashes to pieces.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She struggles as he drags her to the trunk. He pops it open and she manages to wrestle his arm away from her mouth long enough to scream. The woods. Shawn hears it.
Lena?
The backyard. Izzy heard it too.
Lena!
That's it. Enough fucking around. She grabs a hold of the small intestine and rips it off of her. She tries the same with the large intestine, but it's too strong. So she pulls it to her mouth and bites it off. She gags as she jumps to her feet and runs to the front yard. She arrives just in time to see Brad lock the crumpled trunk of his car and Lena screams and bangs from inside.
Hey!
He looks up to see Izzy racing towards him. He jumps into the driver's seat, starts the engine, and speeds away.
No!
She's forced to watch helplessly as it disappears over the road's horizon.
Oh God, what do I do? What do I do?
She paces in panic when her foot crunches a piece of plastic. She looks down at the remains of the VCR and the tape. She picks it up, has no idea what to do with it now. But then she sees red and blue lights flashing across the trees. She turns to see a police car driving towards her.
Oh, thank God.
She races towards it as the window rolls down and two officers, Tommy and Jarvis, look at her.
What's going on out there, miss?
Interior, the upstairs hallway, night. The killer's headless body hangs limp from the ladder. His head lies on the floor. It twitches, just once. Then again. Then again. Until suddenly it starts spasming. His body too. They convulse violently until both the body and the head dissolve into pools of black blood that melt into the floor. Interior, the trunk, night. In the dark, Lena kicks at the trunk's door until her ankle twists.
Fuck.
She grabs her ankle and winces. Realizing that what she's doing isn't working, she changes tactics. She twists around and tries to speak through the crack in the seats.
Brad, I don't know what you're doing or why, but you need to let me out.
Interior Chevy Malibu. Brad drives, staring ahead with pained eyes.
I know who you are. You're Bradley Clark from Holdenfield, Pennsylvania. You went missing in 1987. People looked for you. People miss you. Whatever you're doing, you can make the choice to stop.
No, I can't.
He turns on the radio and blasts generic Van Halen to hide her pleas. He wipes black blood from his nostrils. Interior police car, night. Izzy is in the back of the cop car, frantically looking out the windows as Jarvis drives and Tommy shines a light at the surrounding woods.
Now, what did you say he was driving?
I don't know anything about cars. It was red and it was in an accident. There's no bumpers. Is that enough?
Jarvis gets on the radio.
All right, we got a 207 suspect is driving a red car, missing bumper. The victim is in the truck.
Izzy looks down at the VHS held tightly in her hand.
So this psycho killer, he's dead, you say?
His head is on the floor, but from what I understand, that doesn't necessarily mean he's dead because these movies are fucking stupid.
She realizes they're slowing down. She looks around. They're in the middle of the road.
What are we doing?
Jarvis turns off the engine. Both officers look straight ahead.
You're not from around here, are you?
Izzy sinks into her seat. Fuck.
We locals, well, we got a way of doing things.
A culture of tradition.
She tries the door, but of course, it's locked.
And out of towners, it's been our experience that they don't show much difference to the done thing.
Fortunately, when things go off the beaten path...
Officer Tommy twists around in his seat. Black blood oozes from his eyes and nose and cascades down his grinning lips.
We got a way of course correcting.
Izzy pushes back as far as into her seat as she can. Officer Tommy convulses in his seat, his rictus grin contorting into an expression of torture. He howls in pain. Next to him, Jarvis can't stop laughing.
Here he comes!
Izzy can do nothing but watch helplessly as Officer Tommy grabs at his face and hair and disappears beneath the seat, only to return as the killer. Jarvis looks back at her.
He's mad now!
The killer looks from Izzy to Jarvis. First things first. The killer grabs a hold of Officer Jarvis's head and smashes it through the car window. Izzy watches as the killer opens the passenger door and lumbers past the windshield. He pulls Jarvis's body through the shattered glass and onto the road, then lifts his boot and stomps, splattering blood across her window. Now it's her turn. Izzy scrambles to the other side as the killer comes up to her door, but there's nowhere to go and nowhere to hide. The killer rips the door off the hinges and looks inside. With nothing to lose, she flips him off.
Fuck you, ass face.
He reaches inside when blam, blam, blam. 3 bullets burst through the killer's head and chest. His body collapses onto his seat, revealing Shawn behind him with camcorder in one hand, Jarvis's gun in the other. They share a brief, holy shit, did that just happen look when...
Get in.
Shawn nods and jumps into the driver's seat. His hand's still shaking. He starts the engine, but then...
I don't know how to drive.
God damn it. Izzy looks through the partition.
See the handle? Move it from P to D.
He tries.
I can't.
Foot on the brake.
Okay, that works.
Now what?
She's about to respond when the killer lifts his head.
Shit.
Huh?
He looks back and sees Izzy kicking the killer in the head.
Oh.
Hit the gas!
He steps on the pedal and the car zooms forward. Lena kicks at the killer again, and his legs drag across the road until he finally falls out of the car. She looks back and sees the killer's body rolling across the asphalt, but still takes little comfort in this. It's only a matter of time before they see him again. Exterior of the road. The killer rolls down the street until he finally comes to a stop. He picks himself up, cracks his neck, and walks into the woods. Interior police car night. When Izzy catches her breath,
I have the tape.
What?
she shows him the VHS.
What do we do? Break it? Shoot it with a gun?
Shawn considers this, shakes his head.
No, not without Lena. Where is she?
Brad took her. She's in the trunk of his car.
Shit.
The video, it's treating us like a virus. Seems like everything's trying to kill us now that we're changing the story.
And we have no idea where they went.
No.
She sees his lip tremble in the rear view. He swallows the lump in his throat.
This is all my fault.
He can't fight any longer. He beats his fist against the wheel.
This is all my stupid fucking fault.
We'll find her.
How? They could be anywhere. She could be dead by now.
He's right. They have no way of knowing except... Izzy looks at the tape in her hand. Her eyes go wide.
Spaceballs!
Excuse me?
Spaceballs!
Nothing.
Dark helmet? Pizza the Hut?
I don't know what those words mean.
She rolls her eyes.
Okay, this is why you should expand your horizons. We need to get a TV.
Exterior town night. The cop car drives through the town as Izzy looks out the window.
Oh, there!
Shawn pulls over and the two of them get out of the car. Tape in hand, they rush across the sidewalk to a department store. Interior department store night. Shawn and Izzy march through the store, passing to various departments. Kitchen, yard, pets, bathroom.
Electronics.
While Shawn looks for the electronics section, Izzy is keenly aware of the stares they're getting from the other customers.
Keep in mind, everyone here could potentially try to murder us.
They pass home repair and she grabs a claw hammer off the shelf, just in case.
I don't care. All that matters is that we find...
You really love her.
She's my sister.
I have a brother. Trust me, we're not that close.
He considers this.
I never had a lot of friends. Any friends. Everyone always thought the stuff I liked was weird. I was a creep. I was alone. Other kids can sense loneliness like sharks to chum, but Lena protected me. Took an interest in my life. I mean, I don't know if she even likes horror movies all that much, but she at least pretended for my sake. But not anymore. She's outgrown me.
It's not true.
It is. And I don't blame her. We're here.
They arrive at the electronics department. They run to a display of television sets all playing the same workout video.
Do you really think this will work?
Didn't.
Spaceballs. Got it.
Shawn locates the VCR that's the source of the video. He hits eject. All the screens turn blue. Shawn throws away the workout tape and inserts how they bleed into the deck. After a moment, every TV is filled with Lena's wailing face and the sound of her scream multiplied by every set.
That's her.
She's alive.
They watch as she kicks and screams in the trunk.
Where is she?
What the heck, kid?
Shawn keeps his eyes on the screen while Izzy turns to a pimple-faced employee marching their way.
You can't do that.
He reaches to hit eject, but Izzy blocks his way.
We'll just be a second.
Shawn watches as the shot changes. Brad is behind the wheel, driving through a thick fog when pop, something bursts under the car's hood. The engine sputters and smoke billows out from the sides. The car comes to a stop as the engine dies. The shot changes again, revealing they're outside a graveyard.
They're at a cemetery.
Izzy looks up at the screens.
Yes.
I said.
She looks back at the employee, black blood spilling from his mouth onto his uniform.
You can't do that.
He grabs her by the throat and shoves her into the display. Shawn looks up to see her being throttled. He hits eject. Izzy's eyes bulge, and after a second, he remembers the hammer. She winds up and plunges the claw into the top of his skull. She then rips it back, and he collapses. Shawn grabs the tape.
Run.
They run through the store. They pump their legs as they race for the exit. They see customers turn their heads and start walking towards them.
Shawn?
Suddenly, a mom abandons her shopping cart and lunges for them. Izzy smacks her in the face with the hammer, dropping her immediately. Shawn grabs the shopping cart, and together they careen down the aisle with it. Various people try to stop them, but they mow them down. Finally, they reach the exit. They leave the cart and run outside. Interior the Malibu night. Brad sits behind the wheel of a moving car looking out at the graveyard shrouded in fog. As if on autopilot, he gets a flashlight from out of the glove box. Then, with a resigned sigh, he gets out of the car. Interior the trunk. Lena realizes they're not moving.
Brad?
Exterior the old road. Brad wipes the geyser of black blood pouring from his nose onto his sleeve.
I'm sorry.
He turns on the flashlight and shines it across the fog.
I don't want to hurt you, but can't help it. The tape won't let me.
Brad, stop it.
He walks to the back of the car.
It's not so bad. The more you die, the more you forget what came before. You give up, play your role, follow the script.
He stops outside the trunk.
This is where it always ends for me.
Interior the trunk. Lena hears the keys in the lock and then the trunk opens. She looks up at Brad standing above her, blood running down his chin.
And where it begins for you.
Her eyes go wide as she sees a behemoth of silhouette behind them in the fog.
Behind you.
She climbs out of the car onto the old road, but her legs give out from under her. As she scrambles back to her feet, Brad grabs her wrist.
No, don't run.
Fuck off me.
It'll be better this way. Maybe we'll die together. Forever.
She sees the killer emerge from the fog.
Let go of me, you stupid fucking jock asshole.
Then she sees in the trunk the camcorder. She grips the handle and whacks it across his face. Brad stumbles backward, letting Lena go, and she takes off into the fog. Just as Brad recovers, a sickle bursts through his gut and the killer hurls him through the air. The killer wipes the blood off of his pant leg and sees Lena run through the iron gates into the graveyard. Breathing hard, Lena limps on her twisted ankle across the moist dirt of the cemetery, past crucifixes and tombs. She hides behind an obelisk, pressing her back against the stone and catching her breath. She peers around the corner but can't see through the fog. Interior the police car. Shawn pulls up next to the Malibu.
They're here.
They rush out of the car. Interior the graveyard. Lena is about to dart away when she hears.
Lena. Ow.
He gasps and looks back. He's about to call out when he sees the killer's hulking frame illuminated by the headlights. He's coming right towards her. She can't help it. A scream escapes her lips. Exterior of the old road. Izzy hears Lena scream from within the cemetery. She doesn't hesitate. She runs in after her. Shawn checks the chamber of his gun. 3 bullets. He follows Izzy inside. Exterior of the graveyard. Lena limps through the cemetery, desperately searching all around for Shawn and Izzy when she trips over a grave marker and hits the ground hard. But she's lucky, because she was inches away from falling into an open grave. She quickly breathes a sigh of relief. Then she sees, next to the grave, a mound of dirt covered by a tarp, and next to that, a shovel. She gets up and grabs it. Elsewhere, Izzy runs past a gnarled tree when she hears footsteps. She whips around, her eyes darting in all directions, and she backs up into Shawn, doing the same thing. They knock into each other, shriek, and spin around. The gun fires and flies out of Shawn's hand. Once he's recovered from the shock.
The gun.
Shawn crouches down, searching the dirt under the fog for the revolver. But just as he finds it, the killer's boot presses it into the mud. Shawn looks up. As the sickle swings past his throat, he falls backwards, scrambling away as the killer lumbers towards him, ready to strike again when Lena smacks the shovel into the killer's face. While he's stunned, she stabs him in the chest with the shovel's blade and plunges him backwards into the tree trunk. But he recovers. He rips the shovel from her hand and throws it away. Lena dodges his sickle and runs back to Izzy and Shawn.
You saved me.
Worse. My brother.
She grabs Shawn's hand and pulls him to his feet.
Now come on.
The three of them run through the fog until they hit the gate's iron bars. A dead end.
Oh no.
She looks all around.
What?
I think we went the wrong way.
Then Izzy screamed as the killer lurches from the mist and marches right towards them. Their backs against the gate. Lena takes Shawn on Izzy's hand, squeezes them tight, preparing for death. But then the killer takes a step onto the dirt-covered tarp and falls into an open grave. Izzy and Shawn open their eyes to see Lena rush to the statue of the Virgin Mary looming over the hole.
Help me.
They see Lena shove against the statue and realize this was all a part of her plan, so they run to join her. As the killer reaches up and finds purchase on the edge of the grave, the three push the statue with their collective might. And just as the killer starts to pull himself up, the statue topples over and crushes him. The three of them look down at the killer at the end of the grave, or at the bottom of the grave, struggling under the weight of the concrete, unable to escape.
You could have told us you had a plan before I pissed myself.
Izzy turns to Lena.
You're alive.
I am.
Izzy grabs her face and kisses her hard.
Whoa, what the fuck is this?
But as the two suck face, the killer stops struggling. Shawn notices. He looks down at the grave as the killer goes limp.
Hey.
He watches as the killer's body pulsates and then dissolves. Shawn tugs at Lena's sleeve until she tears herself away.
What?
But then she sees the killer's blood seep into the soil.
Shit.
It's not going to stop, is it?
Not until we figure out how to get home.
But Izzy remembers.
We have the tape.
Exterior of the old road. The three of them haul ass out of the gate and back to the cop car. Shawn swings open the door and emerges with the VHS.
Yes.
Now what?
Shawn considers his answer, but before he speaks, he sees something in the distance.
We need to be smart about this. We only have one shot.
As Shawn thinks, he hears the caw of a crow in the distance. He squints, looking through the fog at a glowing light. A sign.
Do we rewind it to the beginning and smash it to 100 pieces?
No.
Shawn walks through the glowing light like a moth to a flame.
We return it.
They watch him vanish into the fog. Izzy looks back to Lena and shrugs. She follows him. Lena starts to, but something catches her eye. She reaches into the car and grabs the camcorder. She bites her lip as a thought occurs to her. She takes it with her and she follows him. Exterior strip mall night. The sign glows brightly on the foggy night as it looms over the packed parking lot. Shawn walks past the cars and the stores straight for the last one on the left. Video Castle. Interior Video Castle night. Shawn enters the video store and just like he was told, it was indeed popping off on a Friday night. Patrons of all ages, shapes, and sizes peruse the shelves looking for the night's entertainment. Children run through the animation aisle while older couples wander through foreign. Dads are in action, moms are in drama, teens are in comedy and horror alike. Then he sees it. The back office. He pushes past customers on his way to the door. He checks to make sure the coast is clear, and then goes inside. In the back office, Shawn flips the light switch, illuminating the room with a flickering fluorescent light. His eyes find what he's looking for. The door in the floor. He rushes towards it and crouches as he opens it.
What the?
He's peering into a dark, seemingly bottomless pit.
Can I help you?
Shawn jumps out of his skin. He looks to see, standing in the doorway, Barbara. She looks exactly the same. Ghost white hair and a face like a Renaissance painting. Even the same age as when he first met her.
You appear to be lost. This is my office. Off limits to customers.
Shawn searches her face. He isn't sure how to play this.
Sorry, I needed to.
What's the matter, Shawn? You're not enjoying the movie?
His blood goes cold. Interior Video Castle. Lena and Izzy enter the store.
Where's Shawn?
Interior the back office. Barbara strolls closer.
What about your sister? Was she impressed by the flick? Was she spooked?
He backs away.
Who are you?
I'm someone just like you, Shawn. A connoisseur of the way things were. A preserver.
Shawn backs into the wall as Barbara kneels to the floor.
Admittedly, I've been forced to evolve methods over the years.
She reaches inside the hole and returns with with an old book.
For centuries, fairy tales were my purview.
She opens the book and flips through its pages, revealing to Shawn illustrations of children in peril, cooked by witches, ravaged by wolves, crushed by giants. One of the children turns to Shawn and opens her mouth to scream, but Barbara slams the book shut.
But of course, I had to adapt, change with the times, convert gingerbread house into a humble video store.
She stands.
For years, I collected the souls of the wayward youth who stumbled inside, but little by little they stopped coming. Video stores became a relic. Anyone wanted was streaming.
She grins.
But not you, Shawn. In you, I found a special someone who appreciated the past as much as I do. Someone who longed for a return to a time when things were better.
She caresses his face. Interior video castle. Lena and Izzy navigate the aisle searching for Shawn. All the while, their fellow customers are keeping a watchful eye on their every move. Interior the back office. Barbara takes a step forward. Shawn takes a step back.
This is my gift to you, a fellow nostalgic, to be forever immortalized on videotape. I've been watching you, Shawn. It's been a wonderful show, and I see there's nothing you want more than for your sister, the one and only companion you've ever known, to return to your side in comfortable familiarity.
She takes another step. This time he stays put.
Out there, in the world to which you wish to return, she'll outgrow you, forget you, leave you behind. But here, in the movie, you'll always have her. You'll never know loneliness again. I promise.
He's listening.
I'll make Izzy a nerd, a dork, a freak, so low in the social hierarchy that Lena won't even register her existence. She'll never get between the two of you ever again.
It's tempting.
And yes, you'll be murdered. A lot. But that's a small price to pay for never really dying, wouldn't you say?
She takes one last step so that she's looming over him.
I'll make sure it's quick and relatively painless.
She reaches past Shawn and takes from her desk a razor-sharp letter opener.
Nothing will ever change.
She holds it to his jugular. He gulps.
Now hold still.
Shawn looks past her shoulder.
Yeah, do it.
But before she can plunge the blade into his throat, a tape flies through the air and smacks her in the back of the head. Barbara spins around to see Lena and Izzy standing in the doorway.
Run.
Shawn shoves past her and the three sprint back into Video Castle. They run for the exit, but before they can escape, a line of patrons blocks them from leaving. They stop in their tracks.
Excuse us.
Black blood oozes from all of their eyes and noses.
Never fucking end?
Barbara emerges from her office holding the VHS.
Shawn,
They look back.
you had your chance. Now your deaths will be brutal, extended, and excruciating.
And with that, every person in the store oozes black from their orifices and lumbers toward them like zombies. Everywhere they turn, zombies. They're forced to move to the one aisle that isn't occupied. Horror.
I'm so fucking sick of zombies.
Sorry, Shawn.
For what?
This is all my fault. I should have been there for you. I'm your sister. I should have watched whatever movie you wanted. There's nothing wrong with watching something you've seen 100 times before.
No, this is my fault. All because I was afraid of losing you, afraid of things being different. I should have just learned to change.
And then a thought occurs to him.
Wait, I can change.
As he throws a tape at one of the zombies' heads.
Great, you're self-realized.
No, I mean, we can change into whatever we want to be. This is all just movie stuff. Zombies aren't real. Undead slashers and talking heads aren't real. This is not reality.
What do you...
Shawn shoves the VHS of Nightmare on Elm Street in Lena's face.
This is dream world. We're not bound to the rules, which means
Her eyes go wide. She understands.
We can be dream warriors.
Shawn nods. And just as a zombie dad reaches out to grab her, Shawn gestures at the mirror at the ceiling. They look up. Lena has no reflection. Zombie dad grabs her neck and she whips around and opens her gaping maw to reveal her vicious vampire fangs. She bites into his throat and rips out his jugular and sprays black blood across the room. Izzy wipes the blood from her eyes and hears a roar. She turns around to see Shawn wearing an iron welding mask, his hands replaced with massive buzzsaws. The siblings exchange "holy shit, we're actually doing this" looks as they move down opposite ends of the aisle. Lena pounces from one zombie to another, biting throats and slashing with her talons. Shawn mows through the horde with his spinning blades, churning through zombie flesh. All the while, Izzy stands frozen at the center, getting showered in blood. After Lena rips off a zombie dude's head,
Izzy, turn into something.
No horror stuff.
Shawn looks back as he saws through zombie punk's guts.
it doesn't matter. You can be anything, whatever scares you.
But the pressure is too much. Izzy shuts her eyes and holds her ears and tries to concentrate.
Think.
But it doesn't matter. This is a massacre. Lena and Shawn obliterate the zombie horde, sending blood and bone and flesh flying through the air with glee. And all the while, Barbara stands at the sidelines, her amusement turning to anger.
All right, you've had your fun.
Black blood oozes from the carpet beneath her feet and travels up her body. It overtakes her. Her clothes change to black coveralls. She grows into a hulking behemoth. She becomes a massive rebooted extreme Jason X version of the killer. A distorted mask covers her face and an enormous sickle forms in her hand. But the children don't notice that yet. Lena tears the heart out of the zombie prep and Shawn cuts a zombie yuppie down the center. And then there were none. Coated in black blood, they turn to each other.
Welcome
to
prime time, bitch.
Suddenly, an entire shelf careens into them, sending them flying across the room before pinning them underneath. Barbara leaps through the air and lands on a shelf, crushing them beneath her, only their heads sticking out.
I'm sorry, children, but there are no final girls in this movie. I'm the only returning star of this franchise.
She raises the sickle high into the air.
But don't worry, at the end of this tape, we rewrite and do it all over again.
Just before she can decapitate them, Izzy pounces from the horror section. But this isn't your standard Izzy. This is Izzy covered in thick matted fur with enormous wolf-like ears and a vicious razor-sharp beak. Before Barbara knows what hit her, Izzy sinks her talons into Barbara's arm and rips it off. Barbara lets out a tortured howl. Shawn and Lena push the shelf off as Izzy and Barbara grapple like kaiju monsters. Shawn is just about to join the fight when...
Shawn,
He turns to see Lena holding the camcorder.
the tape.
He sees the VHS on the ground. He avoids the wild swinging claws and blades and grabs it. He tosses it to Lena, who catches it out of the air.
What do you...
I don't want to rewind the tape.
She inserts it into the camcorder and smacks it closed.
I want to rewrite the ending.
She hits record.
Action.
From the camera's lens, Lena records Shawn jumping in to help Izzy take on Barbara. They bite and rip and saw and shred until all that's left of her is her head. She looks up at Izzy's snarling face.
Wait.
Izzy pulverizes her skull with her monstrous foot. And in the quiet that follows, they hear a click. The camera stops recording. Lena checks the VHS.
That's the end of the tape.
Shawn nods.
Over.
Lena appraises Izzy, Barbara's blood staining her fur black.
Furby,
She shrugs.
what do we do now?
Shawn lifts up his mask and looks out at the heavy fog outside the store.
We go home.
Exterior the strip mall night. The thick fog swirls as the three open the door and walk outside. It begins to dissipate. As it fades, it reveals the three of them have been turned back to normal. And when it is lifted completely, they turn around. The store is empty, decaying, a relic of the past.
Did it work?
I don't know.
Then, a buzz. Lena reaches into her pocket and pulls out her vibrating cell phone.
It's Mom. I have 37 missed calls.
She answers.
Hello?
She immediately holds the phone away from her ear because her mom is screaming at her.
I know. I'm sorry. It was a weird night.
But as Lena tries to calm her mother down, Shawn and Izzy hear something moving inside the video store. They see the silhouettes of zombies lumbering inside.
Oh, shit.
They back up into Lena. She sees them too.
Oh, God damn it.
They're about to run when the doors burst open and out steps Allison, Joanne, and Brad, each wearing the non-stereotypical outfit they wore the night they entered the VHS. Everyone else just looks at each other, not knowing what to say. Finally, Allison raises her hand to point at Lena's cell phone.
What the fuck is that?
1 month later.
That was so cool.
Exterior of the factory night. A mass exodus of concert goers spill out of the venue and onto the street. Shawn bounds out excitedly, adrenaline pumping through his veins as Lena and Izzy follow behind.
Glad you enjoyed it.
I loved it. The way she was playing those old instruments, but they were like all different and modified, and the way they sounded coming out of the speakers, it was like, who has ever made sounds like that before?
I told you.
And you were right. Old and new coming together to make something incredible. Holy shit, that was amazing.
Lena and Izzy laugh as Shawn bounces around on the sidewalk. He can't contain his enthusiasm.
Did they do shows like that here all the time?
They sure do. Lots of different artists. Lots of stuff to discover.
I want to go to them all. Can we go to them all? Let's go to them all.
We'll go to a lot.
You want to start a band? We should definitely start a band.
Lena and Izzy exchange looks. They may have unleashed a monster. As they pass an electronics repair shop,
I'll come up with the name. How about Hypnosil or Mrs. Voorhees or...
He trails off when he sees the television behind the window. He furrows his brow.
What's wrong?
Lena and Izzy join him by his side and watch the screen. It's an old movie playing on a VHS. A girl is screaming and running for her life through a cornfield. In the distance, they hear the roar of a chainsaw.
Do you hear that?
They lean forward.
Is that getting closer?
We wonder if it is as we smash to the end. Terrifying, Anne. Horror. But thank you all for joining us for this one. This was a ton of fun. And we'll see you at the next one.
Oh my God.